I still remember that Saturday night like it carved itself into my bones, because it started out so ordinary, so safe. The kind of evening where the sun drops slow behind the oak trees, the air smells like sprinklers and cut grass, and you think the only sounds you'll hear are kids on bikes or dogs barking behind fences. Nothing about it suggested danger. Nothing said my world was about to tilt. But my son Ethan, 16, lanky and bright, walking home from his robotics club with that goofy, proud grin he got whenever he'd built something that actually worked, was about to be swallowed into something that looked like a bad movie but was all too real. They came in an SUV marked with bold white letters that didn't belong to any department. Two men, uniforms that only passed at a glance, like Halloween costumes put together from surplus stores. One tall, broad, mirrored sunglasses even though the light was fading. The other wiry, jittery, clutching a badge on a lanyard that could have come out of a toy aisle. "Where do you live?" the tall one barked, stepping into my boy's space like he was already guilty. And Ethan, my trusting, too polite son, pointed 2 blocks up and said, soft as ever, "I live there." But that wasn't enough. They wanted ID. He said he didn't have it on him, that he'd just come from robotics club, school was a mile back. They didn't hear him or didn't care. To them, hoodie plus backpack equaled suspicious. A kid walking home equaled casing houses. Before he even understood what was happening, his arms were twisted behind his back, his chest slammed on their hood, plastic zip ties biting into his wrists. He tried to explain, but one of them hissed, "Quiet down," like he wasn't even human. Then they shoved him in the back of the SUV. No seat, no belt, just the cold plastic cargo floor, and drove off with his phone bagged like evidence, his notebooks pawed through as if they held state secrets. And my son lay there staring through a slit of light between the seats, listening to these men talk like real cops on a real mission, when in truth they were imposters. Meanwhile, I was barefoot in the kitchen, chicken thawing in my hands, trying to decide if we'd grill or bake. I glanced at the clock. 8:42. Ethan was late. Not just a little late, later than he ever was, and no text. I called. Voicemail. Again. Nothing. The third time, my throat tightened because dread was already settling. I dropped the chicken, yanked up the tracker app, and there it was, a red dot frozen at the edge of Sycamore Ridge, a gated HOA community I knew too well. My pulse went cold. I'd sat in meetings about that place, heard whispers about a community services unit that was more shadow than substance. My son's phone hadn't moved in 15 minutes. Training and instinct collided in my chest. I called Mike, my deputy. My voice steady, though everything inside me shook. "I need a trace on a gray SUV, Sycamore Ridge. My son's signal is pinging there." He ran it quick. Came back with nothing that made sense. No registration, shell company offshore. A ghost car. Which meant this was no accident that I shoved into sneakers without untying them, grabbed my keys, and drove with one thought pounding in my skull. Whoever took him had just made the worst mistake of their lives. The drive blurred, endless and instant all at once. I clicked on my dash recorder, documented every word like a case file. "This is District Attorney Carla Dawson at 8:47 p.m., locating my son's signal, unlawful detainment suspected." It was surreal, being both mom and DA at the same time, but I knew I had to wear both hats if I wanted him safe and these men punished. The building looked just as I remembered it. An old guard shack dolled up like it was official, blinds drawn, a plastic sign reading community services. No seal, no flag, nothing real. I stepped out in my blazer, badge clipped to my hip, and raised my voice. Not loud, just firm enough to cut. "This is District Attorney Carla Dawson. My son was unlawfully detained and brought here less than an hour ago. You have 3 minutes to release him or face charges of unlawful restraint, impersonation of law enforcement, and obstruction of due process." At first, silence. Then the tall man came out, the one Ethan had described. His jaw tightened when he saw me. "This is private property," he muttered, weak but still trying. "You don't have jurisdiction here." I locked eyes. "You don't have authority to detain minors. Your uniform is unauthorized. Your vehicle unregistered. You're not officers. The moment you laid hands on my son, You committed a crime. His fingers twitched toward his radio, but I lifted a folder. Emergency order, Texas Penal Code 39.03. Any delay is obstruction. And then, as if on cue, two sheriff cruisers rolled up. Red and blue lights slashed through their sham operation. The gate buzzed open. Illusion shattered. Inside, I found my boy in a beige room, wrists raw from zip ties, eyes wide until they landed on me. Then it all broke, shoulders shaking, tears he'd held back spilling as I wrapped him up the way I used to when nightmares woke him at 5. "You're safe now," I whispered. "Nobody has the right to do this to you." Around us, deputies bagged evidence. Fake forms, imitation badges, stun devices tucked under seats. Outside, the two men stood cuffed, their uniforms stripped to costumes. The scheme unraveled fast, funded by the HOA president, a pompous man who thought order meant control, who'd bankrolled an unlicensed patrol to harass kids and intimidate families. No training, no oversight, just board members drunk on power. And now, exposed. 2 days later, I stood on courthouse steps. No script, no makeup crew, just truth. "This isn't just about my son," I said. "It's about every teen judged by a hoodie or a backpack. Every parent refreshing a location app and praying it's just a dead battery. It's about the danger of giving power to people who were never meant to wield it." That clip spread like wildfire. Parents shared it. Students whispered, "That could have been me." Lawsuits poured in. The HOA president resigned. City council dusted off an old ordinance to ban unlicensed patrols. Change came, not because I was DA, but because people finally saw what silence cost. Ethan was quiet for weeks. Trauma sits heavy on kids, heavier than they know how to name. But one day during a school assembly, he stood up and told the story. Simple, clear, no dramatics, just what happened and what every kid should remember. The room fell silent, then erupted in applause. After that, he spoke at other schools. He sketched a small design, just a circle with 3 words, "Know your rights." Printed pins with his allowance, handed them out. No brand, no logo, just a reminder. And those pins spread. Photos online, teachers asking for them, parents thanking him. It wasn't a campaign, but it turned into a movement. Because sometimes one boy's story lights the way for hundreds. When I look back, I don't just see the night I almost lost him to imposters with zip ties. I see how fragile safety becomes when power is abused, how quickly trust collapses when uniforms are fake, but intimidation is real. I see a mother who had to be both protector and prosecutor in the same breath, and a son who turned fear into strength. But I also ask myself, and I want you to ask with me, what if I hadn't been DA? What if I hadn't had the badge or the voice to push back? Would my son be home? How many kids have already been treated like suspects in their own neighborhoods, while parents never knew? Do HOAs deserve patrols, even if they call it community enforcement? Or should that power stay only with trained law enforcement, accountable to the law and to us? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if justice was really served here, or if this is just the surface of something bigger. And if you believe in what Ethan's trying to spread, remember those 3 words, know your rights, because sometimes that's the only thing standing between silence and survival.